Hey guys, Milwaukee just released a new line of M18 Fuel finish nailers that are touted to have the power to consistently seat nails sub-flush into hardwood surfaces with no ramp-up time and, best of all, no gas cartridges, completely cordless. Milwaukee's approach? The design team, they basically designed this tool on the same successful platform as the Fuel line. And they used a very successful recipe of 3, which was the Power State brushless motor, the red lithium battery packs, and of course the RedLink Plus intelligence, which communicates for the tool. Most carpenters, like myself, hate that our gas nailers have to be cleaned and serviced. Many of us don't have the time nor make the effort to learn how to do the maintenance ourselves, and as a result, there are many gas nailers, there's one over here across the room, sitting on a workbench across the nation waiting for time to magically appear for nailer maintenance. We recently took a look at one of those nailers that Milwaukee just came out with. It's their Fuel, their M18 Fuel 18 gauge brad nailer, 2740-21CT. And as far as performance goes, the new Milwaukee nailer is marketed to be able to basically drive up to 1,200 nails on one 2.0 amp hour battery charge. It features what Milwaukee calls a ready-to-fire technology, which completely eliminates ramp-up time. As a fastener or a faster ramp-up rate means installing fasteners without having to wait for that tool to kind of catch up to the user. Something that many battery-only cordless nailers were lacking for some time. So everyone's been asking me, you know, will this brad nailer really install 1,200 brads? Well, we wanted to know that answer too, but we also had more questions. Questions that we often ask when we want to buy a tool, we want to invest in a tool. Things like, is the tool balanced? Brad nailers really are delicate tools. Is it slow to ramp up? Milwaukee says it's not. Will it consistently sink fasteners? Milwaukee says it does. Will it jam? Would I use this brad nailer on a high-end finish job? Is it durable? Does it operate like a pneumatic nailer should? Will it make me productive, efficient, and ultimately make me money? So we did a tool test of our own. We took the Milwaukee brad nailer into the Concord Carpenter shop for some preliminary testing and to verify Milwaukee's claims of the 1,200 nails on a 2 amp hour battery. And we wanted to see if that was an accurate claim. So our runtime testing criteria, basically, we chose 2-inch fasteners. We chose to use 2-inch brad fasteners, and we set the nailer on a single sequential operation. We prefer using finish nailers in this setting, 1 for safety, and 2, it's realistic setting when you're trying to install fasteners accurately. We constructed a fastening border, a fastening jig consisting of 3/4 inch poplar, 1/2 inch blue board, and a 2x6 spruce framing member, all fastened and sandwiched together. And we chose this material since it best represented fastening trim material onto a residential house wall. As far as testing rate of fire, we installed 1 brad per second for 10 seconds. We rested the tool for 10 seconds, and we repeated the process 5 times. So we installed 10 brads, 10 seconds, 5 times, 50 brads, and would allow the tool to rest for 2 minutes after every 50 brads. We would repeat until the battery either drained or was unable to fire, and if the tool experienced thermal overload protection, we allowed the tool to sit for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we would continue with our test. As far as fastening rate, our fastening rate was basically designed to be aggressive and stressful. We wanted to avoid bump firing the nailer for safety and accuracy too, but it would be super easy to abuse a tool like this and force it into thermal shutdown, thermal protection. You know, realistically, unless you're a trim carpenter getting paid by the lineal foot, you don't need to bump fire finish nailers ever. You should be able to pull your trigger fast enough and accurately aim. punishing the nailer with a continuous bump fire rate would be unrealistic for this test, and frankly, I think it's unprofessional. In fact, if you stop to think about how you really would use a brad nailer, it might sound something like this. You'd probably put a piece of trim, window or door trim up. You'd install 5 or 10 brads, maybe all at one time. Then you'd measure. You'd walk over to your miter saw. You might make a cut. Maybe you cope something. Or maybe a cut man would do this for you. And then you'd walk back, put your piece back up. You'd install a few more brads. But a minute or two would go by between them. So it's important to note that there is no way that you would ever use your brad nailer as aggressively as we tested it. The goal was not to put the tool into thermal overload. We wanted a semi-realistic in our fastening, but we wanted to be aggressive. So this was a very aggressive testing, and we did put the tool into thermal overload several times. Thermal overload or thermal protection, basically what it means is the Milwaukee RedLink intelligence software, it communicates between the tool and the battery. And it's done to improve both the motor and the battery performance, a brushless motor. It increases efficiency, productivity, and runtime, and safety. And it also doesn't overheat. It detects when the tool heats up, and it shuts the tool down. It basically, excess heat will kill a tool, so it basically protects your investment. So our testing results, everybody wants to know, what were the results? We installed 1,198 brads and experienced 16 thermal shutdowns. We rested the tool 2 to 3 minutes whenever it shut down, and then we just continued our testing. Again, very aggressive. One impressive result that I had no idea we were going to find out was that we didn't experience one jam the entire time. The entire time, and we shot way more than 1,200 nails. We used it in the shop, we used it into oak, and we also used it on the job site. From the first fastener to the last, all were installed consistently at the same depth setting. The only exceptions were when the operator lifted the nailer up a little bit, it didn't hold it down firmly, which basically was operator error. As far as nail capacity for this particular nailer, the Milwaukee 18 gauge brad nailer takes 18 gauge brad nailers, straight brads, from 5/8 to 2 1/8 inch. And the magazine is capable of holding 110 brads. That's a strip plus. There is a dry fire lockout that activates when you get to the last 4 or 5 brads. And you know that because the tip here won't indent. Clearing jams is easy by just lifting the top jam latch. But we didn't have to do that. We shot over 1,800 brads testing this. And again, we never jammed once. So I didn't have to clear any jams. For depth of drive and fastener penetration, there's a thumbnail adjustment. It was straightforward and easy to adjust, just by turning a little thumbnail adjustment here on the head of the tool. And again, like I said, we installed 1,800 brads just in our shop testing alone. And that also included fastening into 3/4 inch oak, 1/2 inch blue board, and 2x4 framing. And again, no jamming, 0 issues. So it's very impressive. The power switch on this tool is located in the rear, the lower rear of the tool, just below the handle, right about here. And you have to press the power button for about 2 to 3 seconds to turn the tool on. A safety feature that I appreciate, especially with a nailer like this. There is an LED power light that lights up and stays on the entire time that the tool is connected to the battery and powered on. So you know the tool is on. Power actuation setting. The brad nailer will operate on single sequential actuation as well as contact bump fire actuation. Once powered on, there is a selector switch and an LED light just above the slide pack battery, and it stays on the entire time as well, so you know what setting that you're in. And the modes basically work this way. The LED will indicate, it'll either be solid green for single sequential actuation or continuous flashing. It'll just flash at you, and that'll be for contact actuation, for bump firing. Milwaukee claims that this nailer will fire 3 nails per second. Now, unless you're Superman, well, it doesn't matter. We didn't test for this. We feel it's far less important than fast nailer placement. We would rather have, accurate nailer placement and safe and do a good job. Weight and balance. The Milwaukee 18 gauge brad nailer measures 11.4 inches long and weighs 7 pounds. It's very well balanced, but heavier than a pneumatic brad nailer. Look, cutting the cord to a compressor hose offers greater flexibility and options, as well as mobility, but it does come with a cost of weight, and that weight is the battery, the motor, and all the other components that make up a cordless nailer. I think it's a cost, or better yet, a convenience that many will want. As far as line of sight goes, the tool's line of sight is excellent and what you'd expect in a brad nailer. The fastener's embedded dead center on the contact tip, a 1/4 inch above the tip. So like any nailer, once the learning curve is over and you learn this, your fastener placement will be dead on when placing straight on shots. As far as improvements, this is a great brad nailer. It's an innovative piece of art. It's clear that product development teams and engineers really wanted to get this right, as opposed to just trying to rush into the game and get a cordless nailer into the race. Overall, we were super impressed with this brad nailer. The only area where I thought might be worth noting that we can make some improvements on is when angle-driven fasteners. And I know you're thinking, who drives brad nails at an angle? Well, if you stop and think about installing crown molding, sometimes you're trying to tuck brads up into crevices and coves and curves and dental molding and things like that. You know, if you do that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you are basically angle driving nails or fasteners. What I had problems with is when I was at a 45-degree angle, whether 4 different position of tilt, I did not get consistent depth results on the brad nails. In fact, I didn't flush a lot of them. But overall, my overall impression, after testing this brad nailer, I think I've answered all of the questions from the beginning of the video in a positive way. This brad nailer is durable, it is well balanced, it's consistently and reliably installs fasteners just like a pneumatic nailer would. We couldn't get the brad nailer to jam or lag, and we did extensive testing, both here as well as on the job site. Basically, you can expect to get a full day's work on a 2.0 amp hour battery and be productive, install brads accurately, and basically do a job and do it well. This nailer, like the rest of the Fuel line, will make you more profitable, efficient, and ultimately more money, and stay in service longer because it's just so well made and really well done. The bottom line, folks, the M18 Fuel 18 gauge brad nailer is 100% brad ass. So go and pull the trigger and get yourself one. I'm Rob Robillard. Please consider subscribing to my video channel. And if you want to read the full review, the full tool review we did on this brad nailer, visit ConcordCarpenter.com. Take care.